In today's video, we uncover the heartbreaking and controversial case of Hae-min Lee, a high school student whose life was cut short in a tragedy that shocked her entire community. In Baltimore, 1999, it was a cold afternoon in January. After school was over, a smart and talented young woman got in her car to pick up her cousin on the way to work. But she was nowhere to be found between her morning shift and her evening shift. After hours, she still hadn't come home. As the days turned into weeks, the community's worry changed into fear. It was said that there was love, jealousy, and lies that no one wanted to believe. Before we continue, I want to know, where are you watching from today? Whether you're in the US, across the globe, or somewhere in between, drop it in the comments below. It's always great to see how far these stories travel. And if you're finding this case as fascinating as I do, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Now, let's dive back into the story. Hae-min Lee was born in South Korea on October 15, 1980. The way Hae-min and her younger brother were raised by their mother, John Kim, shaped their childhood. A big choice was made by Hae-min's family in 1992 when he was only 11 years old. Moving to Maryland to stay with her grandparents, they left South Korea and came to live in the United States. Hae-min stood out right from the start. She was good at both schoolwork and games. She joined an advanced program for smart kids near Baltimore at school and did very well in both the classroom and on the field. She learned how to play lacrosse and hockey very well and with a lot of energy. By the time she was a teenager, she was known as a smart, mature, and strong young woman. At age 17, she worked part-time at an eye doctor's office and did a great job of juggling school, sports, and her other tasks. It was April 1998 when Hae started going out with a friend named Adnan Syed. His Pakistani Muslim parents were very strict and brought him up in the United States. Adnan often broke his family's rules in secret, even though they said they weren't supposed to date, drink, or do drugs. He seemed like the perfect American teen on the outside, liked by everyone, plays football, runs track, and has even trained as an emergency medical worker. His friends said he was pleasant and easy to get along with, so he was chosen for prom. Their relationship went through the ups and downs of many high school relationships, sweet gestures, emotional highs, and fights that sometimes ended in breakups and sometimes ended in reconciliations. In her notebook, Hae-min often wrote about Adnan. She said he was kind and sweet, and she remembered when he surprised her with a rose in class. But religion quickly cast a dark shadow over their relationship. Adnan told her that liking her made him feel guilty in his faith. That tension became painfully clear on Halloween night when his parents found out about their relationship and spoke out about it in public. The next day, Hae-min broke up with her, but after a few weeks, they found their way back to each other. As of November, they were seeing each other again, and Hae-min wrote in her notebook that she still loved him. He would go see her at the eye doctor's office where she worked. But by December, Hae-min's focus had changed. She started to like her friend, Dawn Klinadinst, who is 22 years old. The eyeglass shop was run by Dawn's mother, and Dawn was helpful, kind, and mature. He liked how sure of herself Hae-min was, and she was drawn to him in a way she had never felt before. Hae-min said in her writings that she was torn between the two guys. Adnan knew she had doubts, and the fact that they were from different cultures and religions made her inner battle even worse. Hae-min wanted a relationship where she could be herself and be active with her partner's family without having to hide anything or feel bad about it. She had never told her own family about Adnan, and she began to feel like she was losing a part of herself. By the middle of December, she had officially broken up with Adnan. Soon after, she started going out with Dawn, who gave her the security and friendship she was looking for. Hae-min seemed to be on the path to a bright future. She was about to start her senior year, she was in a good relationship, and she was doing very well in school. But after a few weeks, everything would be different. Hae-min was seen leaving school around 2:15 p.m. on January 13, 1999. She got in her car and planned to pick up her younger cousin from creche at 3:15 p.m. before going to work for her shift. It was just another day, like all the others. She never did make it this time, though. She was never seen again. Hae-min was a very responsible girl. so she could not have just disappeared like this. Her family knew right away that something was wrong and called the cops. Around 6:30 that night, police called Adnan and asked when he had last seen her. He said it was earlier that day at school. Don was also asked about it, and he said that he had been at work from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. that day and hadn't seen her at all. The officials were very worried. Hai Min had never had a fight with her family, had no reason to run away, and her life didn't seem to be in trouble. It was more than scary when she disappeared all of a sudden. That was the start of a mystery that would upset her neighborhood and bother everyone who knew her. Over the next few days and weeks, her mother's terrible pain got worse because there was no sign from the Hai men. Every day that went by without an answer made the quiet worse. Then, on February 9th, almost 4 weeks after she went missing, the cops got a shocking call. A person in the area said they found what looked like a human foot, partly buried in a shallow grave. The police rushed to the scene. Authorities found a body in the huge forest park where the body was found. People had already heard bad things about the place because it had been used to bury people before. Soon, the police confirmed what Hai Min's family had been most afraid of. It was her. She was only 18 years old. According to the investigation, the person died from being strangled by hand, which made the crime even worse. When word got out that she had died, people in the community came together to mourn. They held vigils and paid respect to a young woman whose life had ended far too soon. The man who found the body was the first person the police looked into. He said that he had pulled over after drinking a beer while driving, gone into the woods to go to the toilet, and then found the horrible scene. His story was looked over, but nothing fishy was found. Then the police looked at Don, who is Hai Min's new boyfriend. Based on his work records, he was at work that day from morning until night. Once more, no proof that was not normal was found. A call from someone unknown changed everything, just as the probe seemed to be stuck. The person on the other end of the queue told the cops his name was Adnan. The person who gave the information said he was guilty, and even said he had threatened Hai Min's life before. Detectives started carefully putting together the couple's relationship. Friends made things sound difficult. Some people said Adnan thought Hai Min didn't love him enough, while others said Hai Min thought he was too controlling and didn't like being told what to do. His expectations of her were at odds with how independent she was. A close friend, Stephanie, told Adnan that he didn't think Hai Min would leave him for someone else. In her notebook, Hai Min wrote that it had been hard for him to accept the breakup. She wrote that she loved him. So why did her feelings change so quickly? A lot of kids might have asked that question. Still others saw a darker side. By early December, one of her friends said he was jealous and nervous, and he often asked her if she was cheating on him. Then they found something that really upset the detectives. They found a note from Adnan that threatened to kill Hai among her things. It matched what the unknown person had said. Even so, there were some problems. This past holiday season, Adnan and Hai Min gave each other Christmas presents and even helped each other out when their cars broke down. Actions that made it look like they were still getting along. Detectives thought this made it more likely that Adnan thought they would get back together one day, just like they had before. But Hai was making progress by January 1st. Don and she had been on their first real date. For Adnan, it might not have been clear how that new friendship really worked until January 5th. Detectives think that's when he first heard about Don. To find out more, they looked at his phone records to see who he had talked to that day. Jennifer was the name that stood out. At first, her story didn't seem very interesting, but when she went back to the station the next day with a lawyer, it changed a lot. Jennifer said that Adnan had been with his friend Jay on the day he went missing. In addition, she said that Jay had told her that Adnan had killed Hai Min. It gave the cops a new idea of what to look for. To question Jay, they called him in. Jay said in interviews that Adnan had talked about killing Hai Min, especially after he found out about Don. He said that Adnan was someone who didn't like losing. Even though he hadn't taken the words seriously at first, police thought they showed a dangerous way of thinking. They put even more pressure on Adnan when they found out something that might have made him angry. A few days before she died, on January 9th, Hai Min changed her social media status to say that Don was the new love of her life. Adnan bought a new cell phone on January 12th, just one day before the crime. The deal was not even in his name. It was a friend from the mosque's name. It was said that he called a few people that night to give them his new phone number. Several of those calls were made to try to reach Hai guys. This information added another piece to the puzzle for the investigators. As of February 28, 1999, 6 weeks after Hae Min went missing, the cops had caught Adnan. During the press conference that followed, they not only talked about his friendship with Hae Min, but they also hinted that his reason might have been a strong, fatal attraction. Many people in Baltimore's Muslim community were shocked by the arrest. A lot of people who knew Adnan said it couldn't happen. He was always a kind and polite young man who was very religious and had no ties to crime or violence in their eyes. Some people think that the cops went after the wrong person because they were under so much pressure to solve the case. But Hae Min's family didn't have that kind of question. Her mother was heartbroken over the death and wanted justice. She thought that Adnan could only get it by getting a harsh term. Adnan, on the other hand, was sure he was innocent. He said that he had been at the library with a girl named Asia McLean on the afternoon Hae Min went missing. He said that because he still loved and valued Hae Min, he would never have hurt her. He told the officers that Hae Min had called him the night before and asked to make things right when they pressed him about the calls. The police didn't believe that account, though. Hae Min couldn't have found out his new number so quickly. She didn't write it down in her notebook until after the call. And in her last post for the day, written after spending the whole day with Don, she wrote how much she loved him. Detectives thought that the idea of reunion was very unlikely. Adnan was finally officially charged with first-degree murder. When Jay was brought in for more questions in March, things got even more confusing. His story went further this time than the last. Jay said Adnan had admitted to killing Hyen and that he had helped hide her body. Adnan called Jay after the crime, picked him up, and showed him Hae Min's body in the trunk of his car, Jay said. In a shocking turn of events, Jay then showed the cops where Hae Min's car was, which was a very important piece of evidence. The new information added more weight to the case in the eyes of the investigators. Cell phone tower records showed that Adnan's phone was close to the forest park that night, and Jay's evidence was a big part of the prosecution's case when it started in early 2000. However, Jay's story wasn't always true. Even though the main facts stayed the same, he changed the times of when Adnan was said to have called him and when he said he saw Hae Min's body. The defense used these problems to show that Jay's story was not credible. Aside from that, there was no other physical proof that Adnan was involved with the crime. His DNA and fingerprints were not found in Hae Min's car. It's still not clear why the defense never called Asia McLean to the stand as an alibi witness, even though she was ready to do so. The verdict was given on February 26, 2000, after 6 weeks of evidence. He was found guilty and given a sentence of life in jail, plus more than 30 years. Jay pleaded guilty to being an agent and was given 2 years of probation less soon after. Adnan's defense filed an appeal the next year saying, among other things, that not calling Asia as a witness had made his case much weaker. But the appeal was turned down, and the sentence stayed in place. Even though years went by, Hae Min's case would not go away. It got attention around the world, and soon after, private investigators and independent journalists started looking at the proof again. Their work led to new ideas, all of which said that Adnan might not have been the real killer. If not him, then who? One of the most talked about options pointed straight at Jay. Some said he killed Hen himself and then put the blame on Adnan to avoid being caught. The reasons were different. One story says that Hae Min told him she would call the police because he was selling drugs. Someone else said she saw him cheating on Stephanie. Supporters of this idea said that Jay could have had a reason to permanently silence her in either case. However, the idea was very wrong. There wasn't any strong proof against him, and Hae Min never wrote anything in her diary that made it sound like she had found something. Hen wasn't even close to Jay, so it's not likely that she would have been by herself with him in a place where she could have done something awful. Another version said that Jay and Jennifer might have worked together to get rid of Hae Min and put the blame on Adnan. This idea said that Jay and Jennifer might have been dating, and Hae Min might have found out about it. But once more, the same problem stayed. They didn't know Hae Min very well, and it wasn't clear how they could have gotten her to meet them alone. Even worse, there was no actual proof to back up such a claim. Next, everyone looked at Don, who was Hae Min's boyfriend at the time of her death. At first, his alibi seemed strong, but then people started to question it. The person who ran the optical shop, his mother, had told him about his work routine. Some people later pointed out that the employee number on the log sheet did not match his. The fact that cops couldn't reach Don until 1 a.m. after Hai Min went missing made their suspicions even stronger. He told police that he got home around 7 that night, but he never called them to follow up as planned. The man who had found Hai Min's body was another name that was thrown around. Even though his story made sense, he had pulled over after drinking a beer and found the shallow grave by accident. Later accounts showed that he had a criminal record. There was violence in his past, though. It had to do with compulsive showboating. He took 2 polygraph tests. The first one failed, but the second one passed. Experts said that those results could have been caused by worry. More importantly, the killer had no good reason to lead cops straight to the body of the victim. Without a clear reason, this idea fell apart very quickly. At the same time, internet forums and communities for true crime stories spread more rumors. Users compared Hai Min's case to others from the same time period that had not been solved. There were rumors about a possible repeat criminal, but investigators didn't believe these reports because they couldn't find any proof that the cases were connected to Hai Min's death. Even with all the guesswork, police and prosecutors came to the same conclusion in the end. Adnan. He had the reason, the means, and the chance to do it. After many years, the legal fight started up again. In 2012, Adnan tried again to get his sentence overturned, but his appeal was turned down the next year. But in 2015, the Court of Special Appeals of Maryland put the case on hold and sent it back to Circuit Court to be looked over again. This time, the question was very important. Should I finally look at Asia McClain's testimony? The higher court decided to look at the case again by November of that year. During the long court process, the independent investigations by the news media were the deciding factor. Reporters and private investigators pointed out problems with the case and called into question the strength of the proof that led to the conviction. Asia McClain's evidence and questions about the cell phone tower location data shown in the first trial were at the heart of this re-examination. The defense said that those records, especially the incoming calls, were hard to understand and should not have been used to convince the jurors. In November 2015, the judge decided to look into the case again because it was the right thing to do. From February 3rd to February 9th, 2016, the whole country was interested in a new hearing. Asia herself said under oath that she had talked to Adnan in the library on January 13, 1999, the same day that Hai Min went missing. The judge gave Adnan a new trial on June 13, 2016, saying that his first defense team had not properly questioned the cell phone location proof. Later that year, his lawyers asked for bail so that he could be free while they waited for the retrial. But on December 29th, the move was turned down. The case was looked at again by Maryland's Court of Special Appeals 2 years later, but in 2019, the Court of Appeals overturned the ruling, stopping the new trial. It was proof to Hai Min's family that justice had been done, and they thought it was finally time to move on. Things changed with the law in 2021. A new law in the state let people who had already spent more than 20 years in prison for crimes they committed as minors ask the court for relief. In 2022, the case was brought up again in a Baltimore court because of major concerns about Adnan's first offense. Because of this, he was freed from jail while the legal process went on. A press meeting was held by Adnan by September 2023. In front of the media, he said again that he was innocent, but this time he did more. He gave a detailed presentation with slides in which he accused the prosecutors of wrongdoing, saying that they had not shared information about possible other suspects. He also talked about how the case had affected his family for many years. Finally, in March 2025, a judge in Baltimore made a very important decision. Adnan was found guilty, but his punishment was changed because the court knew he had already spent too much time in jail. Adnan was given 5 years of freedom. To the law, he was still guilty, but he didn't want to go back to jail. Both the prosecution and the defense agreed that he was no longer a good person to be around. The case of Hai Min Lee and Adnan Syed is still one of the most talked about in true crime history, even after more than 20 years. Did the hearing really go as planned, or did mistakes and omissions change what happened? Adnan may have done something wrong, but did he really commit the crime? there are still questions, and the last word might never come. Thank you for watching this true crime case. Stories like this remind us how fragile life can be. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.